Right, hopefully I'm visible and audible and everything. Let me just move the webcam so the burnt out bits aren't so obvious on camera, so I'll move it that way. So obviously this is not a stream I wanted to make, in the sense of this is something that never should have happened, but people have kept asking me to do it, and I do want to show my support for the Ukrainian people. So this stream is mostly going to be obviously just talking about what's happened to Ukraine, and the implications of what's also happening now with Putin threatening the nukes on us, because Vlad has fucking lost it. So hello to everybody. Obviously this isn't a good, friendly subject for a stream, but just so you know, like from what I say at the beginning, in case people want to skip through this if they're watching it back, I'm in total support of the Ukrainian people because they are a sovereign nation that has been invaded, but I also don't wish death on the Russian troops. Hopefully most of them surrender and are treated well, because they've been sent there to die by a fucking megalomaniac. So hello to everybody. It's gone mad with the capitals, Flazzy, mutually assured destruction, unfortunately. So I'll do a very brief thing just in case people don't know what happened. Oh yeah, thank you, Chocolate Muffin. Again, I got to 100k faster than I thought I would, as in about a week faster, but sadly that's just down to Ukraine, because suddenly everybody's interested in stuff to do with Ukraine and nuclear weapons. And again, I would rather, take longer to get to 100k and this fucking shit show not have happened, but, we are where we are. So, right, to explain what... They've not sent me an email, by the way, about getting a badge, but whatever. So, to explain what's happened very simply for the people that haven't been looking at the news, after, I think it was a year of putting troops on the border and pulling them back, putting them there and pulling them back, but for the last about 3 months, Putin and Lukashenko, he's the Belarusian guy, invaded. And the Russian troops have been totally lied to. And if you watch any of the videos where they're captured, they just don't know what's going on. Most of them have been told they're for a peacekeeping exercise or like a military exercise. That they don't know they're being sent into a war zone. And that's partially why the Russian casualties are so high, is because they weren't expecting to fight anybody. They thought they were just rolling in somewhere, and they've been ambushed. And again, it's not the fault of the Ukrainians that they're ambushing, because they're defending their country. But also, again, I don't want to blame the Russian troops in a sense, because most of them don't actually know what's going on. They've been sent there to die by a man that's stolen lots of Russian money. So I'll try and read the chat with it, but most of this is just going to be talking about how much of a human tragedy it is. Cheers, Grant Rennie. I haven't monetized this stream for obvious reasons, but if you want to do super chats, obviously feel welcome to. I did donate 100 quid though yesterday to the Ukrainian war effort, because you can do that. Don't know if YouTube technically allows me to speak about this, but our own government's letting us do this. So basically, the Ukrainian International Bank is accepting both cryptocurrency, pounds, dollars, everything, if you want to send money for medical supplies, munitions, and everything to the Ukrainians. And my money is much better spent on, medical supplies for civilians than it is for buying video games or gas masks, let's be fucking honest. Yeah, right, so just to go to your point, Adola Malone, I'm sorry I'm going to be missing lots of comments because the chat is going to be fast on this one, even with slow mode on. What's happened is that VDV and Spetsnaz have been used completely inefficiently as you would use troops. So VDV have been constantly basically been thrown into the, cannon fire. They've been cannon fodder, because the Russian tactics have been completely abysmal. And like I said, I don't want Putin to win. Again, I think we should blame Putin for this and his oligarchs, and not the actual Ukrainian people. Not Ukrainian people, sorry, Russian people, because again, lots of them are protesting and being arrested for up to 20 years, apparently. But what's basically happened is that, from what I can understand, looking at stuff, he thought this would be like Crimea in 2014, when he could go in, seize territory, nobody would fight him because they had no idea what's going on. And what's happened instead is the Ukrainians are putting up a bloody good fight, with weapons we've supplied them, the Americans have supplied them, most of Europe is now supplying them. And again, I don't want to see Russians die, but, they are the aggressor. But so what's happened is they thought this would basically be, you send the troops there, everybody is like, welcome Russia, our liberators. And that's obviously not happened, because Ukraine has been genocided before by Russia, specifically the Soviet Union, because again, I don't want to blame the Russian people for this. but it's important to know why they're fighting so hard, and it's because it's a country of suffering like Poland. They've been in the center of Europe, and that means, bastards on both sides attack them. And what's happened is they've said, we're not having it again. Yeah, Flazzy. Now, speaking of that, what's happened with that is, I don't know if anybody noticed this, but the announcement of him stepping up his nuclear shit was right after the Russian troops got kicked the shit out of, was it Kharkiv? Because, again, they sent the troops in thinking they were just there on some sort of exercise. They were walking in casually, not prepared to fight, and they got ambushed because the troops had been lied to. And this is the thing, that I don't think a lot of Russians want this being done under their name. And like I was saying the other day, I was actually genuinely crying over some of this shit because it's horrible what they're doing to people. Like, I know somebody that's had a couple of family members killed in Russian bombardments the other day. I know people in Poland that are taking in Ukrainian women and children as refugees. It's fucking horrible because, again, why is this happening? It's because one dickhead's got his sort of, Hitler Napoleon ambitions of being, before he dies, I'm going to reunite the USSR, Great Russian Empire, and he's fucked up badly. And he's fucked up so badly, even the Germans are fucking rearming themselves at a rate of, being impressive, which under other circumstances might be interesting. But to give people an idea, a couple of days ago, the Germans were the last country holding out on, banning lots of Russian stuff from the German economy. Now they're fucking supplying military arms to Ukraine, and they've put 100 billion, essentially dollars or euros, whatever the monetary figure was into bolstering their army. Because what Putin's done, as much as he whinges about NATO being an invading force, he's made everyone want to be in NATO because he attacked a country that wasn't a NATO member, and they were invaded because they weren't a NATO member. So exactly, Fluzzy, this is the thing. I'm really hoping he gets fucking slotted by one of his generals or something before this gets to that stage. Also, because I don't want Ukrainian and Russian people to be dying in this. Because bear in mind, in World War II, we fought on the same side as the Russians against the Nazis. And now we have a man with similar ambitions to Hitler, who has been basically appeased for so long, walking into countries, and bits of countries saying, oh, this is Russian territory now, it belongs to me, and the West's not doing anything. And we finally stood up against him. I mean, obviously the Ukrainian people themselves have stood up the most, but we're at least, funding them now, giving them arms. British troops are unofficially moving in as of today, and the French, which is brilliant news because I reckon they'll get a fucking lot of volunteers to go in and do that, as well as volunteer forces. And as I said, you can fund the Ukrainians through, international things if you want to. That will get you a 20-year prison sentence in Russia, by the way, if you're in Russia, because apparently a lot of Russians are brave enough to do it. But the thing is, Alex Saint now, and again, sorry, I'm going to miss a lot of comments, is the Americans gave them shitloads of Stinger missiles, which are really good, anti-tank weapons. Britain gave them loads of NLAWs, which are like modern kind of 84 style things. They're fire and forget missiles, basically. You put it up, you lock on, you fire, you can drop it and, get your next one out or run away. And it's turning the old Soviet armor into scrap metal. Putin also did really badly because his logistics were awful. A lot of Russian stuff has been wiped out because they've run out of petrol on the roads. Because apparently, because he waited till this point to invade, the countryside is now so muddy and bogged down that the tanks are getting stuck in it. So every single vehicle is having to travel down the highways where everybody knows where they're coming from. Mr. Incredible, there's already loads of videos of burning T-72s and T-80s online. It's not bullshit. They've been given really good weapons. The people want to fight and die if they have to. And when troops are sent in, not being told why they're sent in, not with the proper support, it's no surprise they're getting wiped out in those numbers. Again, modern tanks don't do very well against things like javelins and NLAWs. It's ATGMs have been a force multiplier since the Cold War. It was NATO's strategy. And again, exactly, Tosca, that's what I'm saying, because I have complete sympathy of the Russian conscripts being sent in, not being told why they're there, being told they're liberating people because they're being genocided by Nazis or whatever bullshit Putin came up with. and then they're being, mown down because they're completely unequipped for it. And I don't think it's going to do very well, Kit Kat. I mean, I hope it does. And again, I hope most of the soldiers run away, the convoy gets captured or blown up, because again, I don't want the innocent soldiers in there to die. But what's happened is he's fought somebody that wants to fight back. And it's like the Finnish Winter War. My theory is that Putin probably purged most of his army of people that actually had any sense and stored yes men. And then just like Stalin, he's fought people that want to fight back, and his shit's getting kicked in. Again, sorry the chat's moving too fast. And again, thanks to people saying thanks for getting to 100k. But like I said, I've got to 100k subscribers, not on good things at the moment, but because with the Ukraine stuff, people are suddenly a lot more interested in military surplus and like nuclear war and everything. But as I said, I did donate 100 quid, which I know isn't much in the grand scheme of things, to the Ukrainian arms sort of thing. I think he's a madman, Brandon, and I sadly think that's the danger of it, that I think a rational person would not have done this. But I don't think he's rational anymore. I think he's gone fucking mad. Maybe he's got cancer and he's dying. Maybe he's had a brain tumor. I think he saw what happened in Afghanistan with Biden's bungled withdrawal, thought I can do whatever I want now because nobody will stop me. And what's happened is people have stopped him. And lots of human suffering is happening because of it, because of his fucking megalomania. Yeah, the thing that really surprised me, Kit Kat, is as well as all the modern anti-tank equipment the actual proper Ukrainian army have, it seems like every 1 in 2, 1 in 3 civilians now has some sort of anti-tank weapon. I don't mean Molotovs. I mean like old law rocket launchers, RPG-7s and everything else. And the longer he's drawn it on, the better it's got for Ukraine, because obviously more international support has gone out for Ukraine, more weapons and troops under, what the Russians would call tourists arriving there to help fight. More of the civilians are being evacuated to nearby countries that don't want to, stay and fight. And it means more and more arms are getting to the Ukrainian army, so their less impressive stuff can be given to civilian volunteers. Kind of agree with you there, Singh. Although, again, my granddad is 96. Actually, I think he's 97 now. That's awful. I can't remember his age. And he's horrified by this because, bear in mind, he fought on the same side as the Russians in World War II against Hitler. And now you have a man that's literally turning into Hitler. I don't think the sanctions on their own will stop Russia, and thank you for the donation, but I think what is happening is that basically the sanctions are probably waking more Russians up to what's going on. You're seeing a lot of protests in Russia that the government's trying to clamp down on them, just simply because obviously Russian people protesting in favor of a foreign country is not good for Putin. Because again, Slavic people do not want to murder each other over some pointless dictator's ambitions. I never used to be this anti-Putin, by the way, but obviously what he's fucking done is just the last straw. Because I used to be like, funny man, ride bear, shirt off, fish, hold gun. And he had done good stuff for the Russian economy back in the, was it early 2000s? But what he's done now is unforgivable. And again, it's the entire appeasement thing. It is literally history repeating himself, because obviously for the people who don't have a history lesson, before World War II started, Hitler had walked into several places and everybody backed down. And it was, this is the last place I'm going into, I promise. And then when he finally went into Poland, that was it for Britain and France. But sadly, we should have stopped him before then, and it would have been a lot far less, human tragedy of World War II. Lots of civilians have been genocided as well. I think you're seeing this, with Georgia, Crimea, the Donbass, or whatever they call it, It's basically been, I'm going to walk into places and you're going to bow down. And what's happened now is because the Ukrainians are fighting so hard, and basically all of NATO said, actually, fuck you, we're, Cold War II's on. It's not worked for him, because he's fighting people that are well armed and wanting to fight and die, and his conscripts don't. And like I said, hopefully most of them will be surrendering and being treated goodly, before that, because, I don't want the Russians to die either. They've been walked into this by a dictator. Yeah, this is the thing, is, I'm sorry, I have no idea how to pronounce your name, but before he did this, like with Crimea, I didn't agree with him taking Crimea, but I thought it was a very good military step how he did it. You know, like the troops went in, they took the military bits very, you know, quickly, bloodlessly. You know, it was a strategic victory for Russia, and I thought Putin's a lot smarter than our guys. And again, what I think's happened now, he's getting old. Maybe he'll be dead soon. Let's hope he's dead soon, but not through nuclear war, obviously. And I think what's happened is he's bitten off more than he can chew. He thought that they'd go in, they'd be welcomed as liberators, and he's just sent his troops into a bloodbath because the Ukrainians are not going to take this lying down. Right, anyway, again, sorry I can't keep up with all the comments because they are coming through too fast. But again, regarding World War III or nuclear war, this is what we were scared of, a lot of us, for a while, is that when you have a sane person, they will never do mutually assured destruction mad. Because both of you say, we've got so many nukes pointed at each other, let's never use them. If you have somebody that's gone fucking mad, pardon the pun, they might use them. This is why everybody was always scared of the North Koreans having nukes. Because, you know, if you've got a dictator with nothing to lose, why won't he launch them? Yeah, Peach. There was a thing a year ago that he might have had cancer, and I can certainly see more truth in that now. As in, I think maybe he has some health concerns or whatever, and he wants his legacy now as like the man who remade the USSR or Russian Empire or whatever. And it's given him delusions of grandeur. And again, another thing dictators generally do is they surround themselves with yes men. And obviously, yes men are when you have people that agree with everything you say because they're scared or they want a job or whatever. And I was actually looking at this the other day, and obviously correct me if this is not true, but apparently his like head of the Army, Navy, and Air Force, they're like 3 different people, but only one of them has no combat experience of actually managing like armed forces during a conflict, and the other 2 only have experience in Syria. Like they have no fucking clue what they're doing. And this is coming across obviously when the fuel trucks are sometimes rushing ahead of the actual tanks and BMPs and getting wrecked. United States Republic of Cyprus. The thing is that, again, it's I don't think lots of us want a war as in it's a war for Ukraine. It's on the principle of we know from history what happens when we let dictators, you know. Let me check the news, Mr. Live Era. I'll put a live thing on. But again, like I said, I know somebody today that had relatives killed in Ukraine through bombing by, you know, Russian. Well, here's the thing. I reckon it's not the regular conscripts that are doing any of this, because if you see lots of videos of them, they're the ones that don't want to run people over that are laying in the road to stop the tanks. They're the ones that are confused when Ukrainians are like laughing at them and saying, why are you here? You know, like when their convoy run out of petrol or diesel or whatever on one of the motorways. I'm assuming Putin's got a lot of cronies, you know, in positions, and they're the ones that are going to be the ones pulling the trigger on civilians. Because again, most regular people, if they know what's going on, do not want this war. Oh, thank you very much, Loiso. Yeah, this is what I was just saying. I'll read out your comment, but I'll basically say from what I've heard. He said a lot of Russian conscripts were tricked by sending them to training. They found themselves in Ukraine the next day. Everybody feels betrayed. Morale is the negative. Officers have to beat people into even moving. From what I understand, lots of them were told they were on a peacekeeping mission, and some of them were even shown pictures of the Bosnian genocide back in, you know, the 90s. And said this is what's happening in Ukraine today. They were told they're on a military exercise, you know, a peacekeeping mission, whatever. They were not told, and this is why their logistics are so bad, because none of them had any planning on what they were actually doing, that they were going into a fellow country to attack the people. Radioactive Saddam, sadly, I think that's it. I think it's literally, oh, I want as much territory under my flag as possible. And, you know, most of us, like I said, I don't want Russians to die either. They were our allies in World War II. Every human life lost is a, you know, tragedy. And again, like I said, it does get me fucking emotional because it's, you know, we know where this goes and it's not good. I find military history really interesting, but I don't like seeing it when people are being murdered on both sides. because of some dickhead. All right, Adventures of AJ, let me have a look on the news. But anyway, for the people who didn't see earlier, the good news is, and again, not good for Russian conscripts, and again, but maybe if it stops the war sooner, it would be good for them, is apparently French and British troops are going in unofficially, as in, if you want to volunteer to go in, they will supply you and send you in. Because I know the Ukrainians have said, if people want to volunteer, go to an embassy, they'll send you over there and give you weapons. This is like official military stuff, as in like the Spanish Spanish Blue Brigade in World War II, or like the stuff going on in the Spanish Civil War. It's some of these are proper military people that are being essentially officially sanctioned to volunteer for a war. Where did you see the update about the bomb going off, by the way? Because on the BBC, and I have been looking at several sources, the current thing is EU steps up response to Putin over Ukraine invasion. Again, hello to everybody. And again, sadly, I'm missing comments. We've got 170 people on, which is the most people on the stream in ages. And again, I wish I wasn't getting this many people on for something like this, but Yeah, Joshua, and saying this is why it's so scary, because I think if Putin's clutching at power and he knows he's going to be toppled, he'll fucking do it. And again, even if we assume for some reason this nuclear war wouldn't kill anyone. So let's go over the options of what this nuclear war might be. One of them is that he'll drop like MOABs or FOABs, whatever they call them in Russia, the fuel air bombs, thermobaric weapons on the cities to kill civilians. And that's a fucking horrible war crime. Or he'll step it up and do it with like the couple of kiloton tactical nukes that Russia still has, which I didn't actually know about till today. I thought tactical nukes were a thing of the past, but apparently the Russians still possess them. And they could use them to de-escalate a conflict. You can never fucking de-escalate with nukes, unless obviously you completely capitulate one side. Or it could literally be, mutually assured destruction. If I'm going down, I'm taking everyone with me. And I saw a thing yesterday I laughed at in, the gallows humor way, but sadly it's coming true as of today, is that Putin's losing so badly, he's going to rage quit the world with him. And does that surprise anyone? But hello to everybody, I said. They've closed the ships off, have they, Steve? Because I've seen that pretty much all the EU now has stopped the Russian flights going through. Yes, I was watching a load of videos from Freds and lots of other nuclear stuff like Dr. Strangelove the other day. And everybody in the comments now is just, when there hadn't been comments on some of these videos in years or months, is like, oh, great, we're living in this timeline now. Oh, exactly, Johnny Armour. Like I was saying, somebody I know, I won't go into their details because, again, it's private and they were very upset today, but somebody I physically know in real life, as in a work colleague, had, I think it was their aunt and uncle killed in a Russian airstrike. I've also heard that, like some of the people have been pulled out of cars and shot and things like that. Oh, Adventures AJ. And also, I think in the event of actually mutually assured destruction, you want to be under the bomb with a beer. You don't want to live and see the fallout. Because again, I imagine now the price of ROC posts is going to shoot up, because I haven't seen one for sale in ages. But sadly, they're probably way out of my budget now because people are actually thinking nuclear bunkers are a good idea. But again, like I said, in an actual full-scale nuclear war, I would not want to survive it and die of fallout exposure, or starvation or whatever else. You want to go instantly in the heat wave. Yeah, Glenn, I live very close to an airport, and I also work now and again or volunteer close to RAF Bryce Norton. So I imagine I'll be glassed. But like I said, if it happens, I want to go instantly in the blast. Get a good view of, the sun coming up from a warhead, and then that be it. Not die of radiation exposure or whatever else. Yeah, same thing's happening with petrol and everything else. It's also going to be happening, Fuzzy, with food, because both Ukraine and Russia are some of the biggest world's exporters of grain. And grain is going up in price if Ukraine's being bombed. And, we're at basically a sanction war with Russia, if not in a shooting war yet. I don't know, Chainsaw Nutsack, but what I do know is that Ukraine's been given lots of information by Western intelligence agencies, where Russian troops are and that. Because again, up until now, where it seems like troops are moving in kind of to an unofficial level to help Ukraine, because of Putin escalating it, it does seem like before that we were giving them lots of information as well as weapons. But I think because of his, playing the big man with the nuclear thing now, his impotent rage, and threats that I'm going to basically glass civilians, it's turned into now, well, let's fucking fight you then. Again, if it turns into a nuclear war, I think most of us are fucked. I want to be just completely brutal about that. I'm sure there'll be prepper channels telling you all the things you can do. If you're in a major country and mutually assured destruction starts, you're fucked. You don't want to survive it. Like, watch Fred's, watch the day after. The reality of that is not pretty. If you're in a neutral country, you might be all right, but I hope we just never get to this stage. This is the thing. It's like, what can you do? Well, if you support the Ukrainians, I guess donate to their war appeal. We could go to an embassy and come up as a conscript and fight. I'm not a conscript because you're willingly going. All right, Ventures AJ. I saw one yesterday where a fuel dump got bombed. And again, this is the completely dumbass strategy of Putin, that they fucking bombed a fuel dump and they need the fuel because they're running out of fuel. Exactly, Oliver. This is why I'm worried, and he will lose this war because he fought against people that wanted to fight. I didn't hear about damaged storage, Steve, but what I did hear about is that the Russian troops occupying the Chernobyl plant now aren't letting in scientists to manage it. And that's really bad because you need to keep the elephant's foot cool. Again, Nate Lott, you're very brave for saying it, because if you're in Russia, I know you're putting yourself at danger saying this. And this is the thing, I'm not cheering dead Russians because they've been fucking lied to. They're going into a horrible, horrible situation where they've basically been told they're on a war game. It's some sort of military exercise. They're preventing a genocide. And what's actually happening is they're going to be sent in to conquer people that don't want to be conquered, that are basically ethnically the exact same thing as them. That is good if they've done that at least, Cypri. But from what I heard earlier, that wasn't the case. But again, with stuff like Chernobyl, we don't fuck about. But if they're trying to be sensible now on that nuclear front, why is he waving his dick with the nukes? But I really don't know, Peach. I mean, I'd assume he's just going to be hiding in Russia now, because I'm assuming if he goes somewhere, there's a good chance somebody will kill him. Because I think a lot of people probably think if he goes to a foreign country now, it's worth taking the PR hit of just getting your army to shoot him, whatever, or make an accident happen. He's done it to enough other people, to try and de-escalate this. Am I under the influence of false propaganda? No. I think if you're a Kremlin agent, you are, but I've just been watching most of the videos going up. And most of it is Russian soldiers that do not want to be in a country being destroyed by people that want to fight. Ukraine is poorer than Russia, but they've got more resolve to fight because they're fighting a defensive war, not an offensive war. Again, I don't want to go too much into COVID on this video, but again, there was lots of stuff with COVID and like the lab leak theory that was all censored at the time that we know now is probably true. Oh yeah, Fluzzy, like I was saying earlier in the stream, to me this reeks of the Winter War, where when Stalin purged lots of his military people that had the know-how and invaded, Finland, he didn't expect the Finns to fight like they did. And again, he technically won the war, but he lost so many troops doing it that nobody considers it a Soviet victory. And I think Putin's done the same thing. He surrounded himself by yes men, not people that are competent. Yes, thing exactly. The NLAWs, the Javelins, the Stingers, they are completely scrapping the Russian armor. And again, I hope there's not Russian troops in them when they burn up, because, like I said, I'd rather they surrendered and be treated as well as possible. um, you know, not killed because they have no idea why they're there. Yeah, and the thing is with the elephant foot, wasn't it, when they built the new containment structure? We're getting a bit off topic here, but it's an interesting thing. Because the new containment structure keeps water out more efficiently than the old sarcophagus, there's not as much water getting in, therefore not acting as a natural coolant. Yeah, again, it's like VDV and Spetsnaz are probably really good troops, but what's happened with like a lot of them is they've been just thrown into the meat grinder by idiots. And again, I don't want them to die, but I'd rather Ukraine win this war, if anybody can win it. But again, like if you've seen the videos where they're just trying to fucking drop paratroopers onto occupied territory, it's like that's not how you use fucking paras. And they also had two Aleutians, was it 76s shot down because they were just fucking loitering in contested airspace. Right. The bit I can say for certain about Chernobyl, because again, there's lots of people saying things have changed recently, is that because Belarus or Belarusia, whatever you want to call it, is very close to the Chernobyl exclusion zone. Part of the Chernobyl exclusion zone was actually in Belarusia because of where the power plant was compared to Minsk and Kiev. It's about 100 odd miles north, isn't it, of Kiev, which is the capital of Ukraine. And what's happened is because it was the direct route to come over the border, they've gone through it and captured it, the Russians. Which again makes strategic sense. And I think they're one of the only Russian columns that got what they were meant to get on like day one, because all the others have been just hit too hard. And again, they didn't know what was happening to them. Thanks, Chocolate Muffin. Was that on this chat or in another chat? Yeah. Well, here's the interesting thing, and weren't they surprised at the resistance they got in Kharkiv today? Because of the fact lots of the people there are more ethnically Russian than Ukrainian, if that's the right way of saying it. And again, most Russian Ukrainians do not want the Russians invading. It's seen as, why are you doing this? AG, sadly not, especially not with the stuff going on at the moment. I mean, the only good thing is I got to 100k subs today, but that is simply because of this horrible shit going on. And I wish, it had taken me longer to get to that and this wasn't happening, but that's the way it is. But yeah, like I said, with COVID and everything else, but I'm on the mend now. But like I said, the world is looking fucking bleak, isn't it? But yeah, thanks for everyone saying thanks 100k. But like I said, normally there'd be a celebration video on this, but it's not time for celebrations, is it today? You might as well type where it is, Stuart. But I've got enough filters for myself. But if other people need them, then obviously GP5 poster. If you mean that, that's not a poster, or if there's that one, do you mean? That one was from eBay, and I think it was from a Lithuanian or Estonian seller where they had loads of old Soviet posters and reprints of Soviet posters. That one is, I think, a Polish training sign from a range. It's like a vehicle sign. That was one that was, basically wear masks in this sector sort of thing. Well, here's the funny thing, Alex Saint. You know how we used to be really harsh on the anarchist cookbook in the UK? It seems now what's actually happened is we're kind of encouraging the Ukrainians to know about this stuff. Because, yeah, when you're being invaded, that's when those sort of books are actually good know-how. I mean, it could be that miss, but I think from just how poorly trained and quips lots of them are that they didn't expect this to happen. They thought they would literally be sent in, for a day somewhere, take a load of strategic objectives, and that would be it. They put a puppet regime in, and that would be over. And that's why it's a miscalculation, because they've gone into a war zone thinking it was like, just take your vehicles to this point on the map, and then that's your job done. Sadly, I don't peach, but if you were replying to somebody else's comment, that's probably why. Yes, and one of the cynical things is, Ray, and again, I hope this isn't true, but it wouldn't fucking surprise me, is that they're using the young, untrained conscripts of outdated vehicles to soak up most of the anti-tank weapons before the more experienced troops get there. I think he wants to, Brandon, but I think his nose has been bloodied so far at this point that he has no chance of invading anywhere else. Yeah, it's worth getting some Flazzy. You can get quite good ones if they're not selling out again at the moment, like everything else. But again, masks are useful for lots of things like DIY, even if you don't need them for anything serious, hopefully that one guy you get a refund if it doesn't arrive. But yeah, we were saying to people like a week back on some of these videos, if you wanted a therapy or something, you probably ought to have bought it a while ago, because I doubt a lot of this stuff is being exported at this point. Oh, exactly, Bob. Oh, thank you, CM. I can see that one. I'm just looking at that video you sent. Oh yeah, that's pretty damn fucking big, isn't it? Yeah, like you said, it looks like a fuel depot or a munitions depot got hit by something. But again, I hope as little people were injured or killed in that as possible, because again, that's what nobody wants. Wow, a good air rifle, going completely off topic, is the air arms ones are meant to be very good. That lots of people have recommended to me, but at the moment, that's like, I'm not even planning on buying stuff like that. Like I said, I donated a load of money today to the war effort, because that seemed a better use of my surplus cash than buying surplus. All right, Tom. Now, here's an interesting question for you, Tom. Again, the chat's going a bit fast, and I'm not going to be on too much longer. But you were in US Airborne, weren't you, if you don't mind me saying? Have you seen the complete fuck up they do with the VDV? Because I'm assuming in airborne training, you would never drop paratroopers onto occupied territory, which seems like the Russians have done that. But yeah, but like we said, I don't believe that they could have fucked up, this stuff so hard on purpose, in the sense that, I think a lot of the soldiers have been lied to about why they're there, especially because they don't seem to have much fuel or like food on them. Because yeah, Tom, what I think they like was apparently happened, but again, it's hard to know with a lot of the videos coming out and everything, or not videos coming out, was they had 2 transport planes full of paratroopers shot down because they put them through like contested airspace, or stuff where stingers and everything was in it, and then they also dropped loads of paratroopers onto occupied territory, like not behind enemy lines to capture stuff, when the main troops are advancing. I think it was paratroopers, Tom, from what I've understood. I think they did have an actual air assault with some light armored vehicles in one of the planes, and I think those are the ones that held the airport for a few hours. And probably fought quite bravely. But from what I understand has happened now, from watching a load of stuff, is they were literally just dropping paratroopers onto like occupied positions. Oh, so was it choppers in the first thing? But again, like I said, it's really hard to know what's actually going on at the moment. Other than the fact the Russian media is denying that basically they've had any losses, or they said like 3 soldiers have died so far. The Ukrainians are probably overestimating the numbers, but there's lots of footage coming out of burning T-72s BMPs and everything else, and stuff that is clearly modern combat footage. Yes, Ray. From what I understand, the Ukrainians have captured lots of Russians wearing Ukrainian uniforms, which again is very Battle of the Bulge, isn't it? Again, one of the things I've heard is that lots of the Russian vehicles don't have good GPS systems in them, and the troops are relying on maps, and not all the troops have been given maps, which would also explain why they're fucking up so hard. Just driving around looking at road signs which have been changed, because that's what you do when troops invade. Yeah, well, I'm saying, Tom, I completely agree with you there. Like I said, it's hard to know what's going on, but it does seem like there's lots of fuck-ups going on. But again, like I said, I know somebody personally that's had family killed in shelling now, or like missile blasts in. It was either Kiev or one of the other big cities, but again, like, it's fucking horrible for the civilians that are there. Because again, what have they done to deserve this? Nothing. Yeah, thanks, AK-47. What was the quote from World War II that the Americans will have, a rifle behind every blade of grass, whatever it was that the Jap said? And again, that's, if it gets to the stage where civilians are happily taking up any sort of arms they can to fight an invader, you're going to get into some fucking Stalingrad territory. Yeah, I completely get you, Tom. Because obviously, I think there's a lot of like psyop stuff, like you say, going on both sides. And the thing is, we mostly don't know, but what we know is that there's innocent people being killed on both sides, basically. What mask they will tell us to use for a Fallout, they'll probably say use a really cheap facial mask, not the old good stuff. Well, that stuff was good at the time, but yeah, I've been looking at Live Map. The only problem with that is it quite often goes down due to traffic, doesn't it, at the moment? They certainly haven't released the mouse, as in the captured, World War II mouse. The problem is, Stuart, it depends what sort of filter it is and what you're using it for. I know you said 40mm, but obviously they come in various sizes and various chemical protection grades. If you're using one against dust, they last pretty much forever, assuming that you don't go in a really dusty environment and clog it up. If you're using them against certain quite nasty chemicals, they degrade filters really quickly. Oh, okay. I'll try that when I next load the map up. But yeah, I'll do that now just to see if there's anything interesting on it recently. Like I said, I won't be on too long because, like I said, it's quite emotionally draining doing this. But again, lots of people ask me to, and this whole thing's so fucked up. But let me find where you'd post the thing. I know the address anyway. It's like Live UA, isn't it? Live UA map. It's worked first time this time anyway. Let me bookmark this. So I've actually got the modern Ukraine one on the actual bookmarks. I used to use this a lot for the Syrian stuff. Oh, this is interesting. Assuming this is all real, head of Russian delegation at UN climate summit apologizes for invasion of Ukraine. The head of Russia's delegation at a major UN climate summit on Sunday apologized for Vladimir Putin's invasion of Ukraine, saying he could not find any justification for it. I really hope that's true, because like I said, none of us want the Russians dying like the Ukrainians dying. Right, let me have a look, Tom, because oh, so yeah, he said, see if you lie, you're saying the opposite that's true to the enemy. Just reverse what you say to know the truth. So you have to lie and tell the truth at the same time. That's everything awful. Yeah, that makes complete sense because it's like with our government when they constantly lied about a lot of the COVID shit they were putting in place or not putting in place. It was basically anything the government says, the opposite is true because, like a week or two later they'll change their mind or they'll to try and look good. They'll say, oh, we're not doing this or we are doing this. And then they do the opposite when the media wasn't paying as much attention to them. But yeah, like you said, if you're basically telling truths and lies at the same time, you aren't going to know 50-50, are you, which one's true or a lie? But again, at the moment, we don't know. I'd say mostly use as verifiable news as you can or try and see actual footage that, have been filmed where it can be verified as being, real and modern. Because again, the problem is, like I've said before, lots of news I've seen over here is very anti-Russian. And like we said, most of us aren't anti-Russian. We're anti-Putin for what he started doing. And again, most of us didn't have a problem with Putin when he was just doing, I am strong man. I stand up to West, all that sort of stuff. But because he's been getting, I think he's got quite deranged. That's why. Oh yeah, a close up. I definitely agree that everybody over here should be given a gun just like everywhere else because we're doing it for the defense of our countries. I'm not even saying that fucking unironically. Apparently, it's what's going great for Ukraine is the fact that they did seem to have a Second Amendment. So apparently there was. I haven't seen footage of it because it was on the news and I was listening to it on the radio at work earlier. But apparently there was like Ukrainian civilians with hunting rifles and shotguns on the barricades of actual, Ukrainian troops with AKs and the MLAWs and it. I think, Tom, it's a mix because I think what's happened is basically both sides escalating. I think there's been a lot of appeasement and, where you get, I'm trying to think of a good way of explaining it, but from what I sort of think is that the West is like, we like dictatorships when it suits us and not when they, don't suit us. So we've been completely hypocritical on what people suffer under, what regimes, whereas most decent human beings don't want other people to suffer. It will obviously happen now and again. But yeah, Fluzzy, this is the funny thing. Under Trump, none of this shit happened, did it? I think a lot of this happened because Biden was seen so weak over Afghanistan and the botched withdrawal that, because with Trump, it was, what was it, fuck about and find out. That basically it was, you didn't want to test him because you didn't know what he'd do. Whereas because Biden was seen as so weak, everybody's trying it on now. But anyway, I'll need to go off because, as I said, I'm quite tired. I've been at work all day. I wasn't originally planning on streaming tonight, but, because I've known some Ukrainians and some horrible shit's happened to them. A lot of them are saying, can you talk about it? But yeah. Anyway, I hope everybody's safe, especially if you're Russian or Ukrainian or, anywhere around that region, because as I said, obviously we don't want any of you people actually dying. But some film recommendations for people, maybe Doctor Strangelove or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb, because that's sadly very relevant today, isn't it?